Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? I am super excited for this video because we're going to be doing a review and 3 looks with the new TropiColor palette from Sydney Grace and the Fancy Face. This is going to be launching today, so I wanted to go ahead and have this video ready for y'all in case you are wanting to purchase this so you can get some inspiration for looks you might want to do, and I'm going to give you my full thoughts on the palette at the end. If you are new here, my name is Amy and I do a ton of content around independently owned makeup brands just like Sydney Grace, so if you'd like to see more of that from me, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Now let's jump right on into the looks. And I want to start off with a really colorful look focusing on the purples and blues, so I'm kind of wanting to do it a little bit different than I typically would. I'm going to kind of switch it up and mostly focus on shimmers. Mattes are not important to this look, so I'm going to start off with this shade right here, which is Lignum Vitae. I believe, I'm pretty sure I looked at the pronunciation and I'm like, was that how I remember it? So I'm starting that shade off on my lid. This is gonna be the main star of the show, but just gonna go ahead and throw it all over my entire lid and then into the crease as well. Definitely does not have to be perfect. And I'm honestly not even packing it on that much because we can go in and make it more intense after everything is blended. I just want to start off with a base of this really beautiful like purple blue duochrome. So now that I have that down, I'm going to take a pretty dense little blending brush and go into some more of that shade and just bring that right through the crease. Kind of focusing majority of the product right here, and then whatever's left over on my brush, I'll go ahead and just slightly buff upwards. It's funny because when I was watching Tina's video on this palette, she kind of explains that it's supposed to be, you know, like a colorful palette for neutral lovers, and like it's supposed to be like really easy to add some color to your looks. And I can totally see that completely makes sense for Sydney Grace. But when I was planning out like the looks that I want to do, I was just like color, color, color. Like I'm going to try and throw in some neutrals too. But I felt like this palette actually had me really inspired to be extremely colorful. So that is definitely where we're going today. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into this shade called Tropical Punch. I wanted to kind of use this pink in this fashion because I don't love the way it feels as much. I just wish that it was like a really extremely foiled shade because I really like the color, but it just doesn't have as much oomph to it. So I thought maybe using it like in the crease a little bit more is going to be how I like it. So I'm going to pick that up with the same brush and I'm going to use that in my outer V. Kind of just laying it down and buffing it inwards. It does have like a really rich pigment to it, so I thought this would actually look so cute on the outer V. You guys will have to let me know if you're a little bit shook that I'm doing a full shimmer look, because I know that's just not what I normally do. All right, so I kind of have the shape mapped out right there, but I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off my brush really well, and then I'm gonna keep blending because I just don't want to bring that color up too high, but I do want it to be a little bit softer. I also do just want to note that I was trying like really hard to be so good with this palette and like tap my brush off every single time to not get fallout, and I still have a bunch of fallout on my cheeks. I did go ahead and use powder today though in hopes that it would just wipe away, but luckily, I mean, it's pink fallout, so it kind of looks like a little blushy moment. It's not the worst fallout you could possibly have. I'm grabbing some more of Tropical Punch and I'm going to go ahead and throw that on the lower lash line. Probably about halfway in, just using a nice flat eyeliner brush. I think I'm also going to go ahead and incorporate Waterfalls just because it's such a beautiful shade. So I'm going to pick up a little bit with my flat eyeliner brush, and I am going to spray the brush as well. And we can pop that right here. So pretty. Before I go into my inner corner shade, I do just want to amp up the lid a little bit now that we have everything blended the way I want it. So I'm just going to pick up that same purple blue shade on my finger and just tap that on the lid. Make it a little bit more intense. So pretty. Alright, lastly for this look, I have been dying to use this shade. I'm going to go into Dr. Bird for my inner corner. So I picked up a decent amount of that, but I am going to go ahead and spray my brush. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and place that right here, and then just kind of bring that around. I am slightly regretting my decision because I thought that this shade was actually going to be lighter than the purple that I put all over the lid, and it is not. And it's such a cool duochrome, but it does have like that orangey undertone, so I feel like it is looking kind of strange on the inner corner just because it's not really highlighting a whole bunch. But I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll figure out how to fix it. So I'm not mad at it. You could leave it the way it is, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a light kind of shimmery highlighty type shade. What's closest to me right now is the Tiny Marvels palette from Sydney Grace. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab into the shade Web, just using the same brush, and I'm just gonna tap that over top just a little bit. I'm feeling the little pop of pink in this look, so I'm going to take my Colourpop liner in the shade Boots and throw that in my waterline. I'm just going to throw on the Thrive Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara on my upper and my lower lashes. Alright, so for blush today, I'm going to go into the Kaleidos Dream Walk blush, which is just a really beautiful cool tone soft pink. I used this with the palette actually already when I did my first impression, just because I was feeling this shade with the blues then, and now I'm feeling with the pinks and purples. I feel like I just love how this look turned out. So just gonna go ahead and like pat that in. Definitely not trying to like swipe a bunch because I have a huge pimple that I'm trying to hide right there. And I do not want to move the product around on my face. And then I'm also gonna go into the Geller Pixie Pearl Highlighter with the same exact brush, just to get a really soft highlight. And just throwing that right on top. And then a little on my nose, of course. My chin. All over. For lips, I'm going to go into the Linda Hallberg lipstick in the shade Pink Opal. It's just a like satiny, glossy, lightly pink neutral shade. Alright, so this is the first look finished. Love how it turned out. I feel like all of the shimmers just look so beautiful, and they actually blended incredibly well. So if you are someone who likes to do full shimmer looks, I felt like this was so easy to achieve. Can't wait to play with the palette more, so let's jump on into the next look. So it is time for another look. Today I thought we could focus on the greens. I kind of already have a plan in place, and it's a pretty simple look, but I think it's going to be super cute. So we're going to start off with this green right here called Palm Trees, which pretty much perfectly matches my top. And I'm going to throw Palm Trees starting off in my outer V, and then through my entire crease with a medium-sized blending brush. So I am kind of starting off with a light layer of product and just really blending it out. And then we can kind of build up as we go rather than going in with a bunch at once. So again, just gonna start off on the outer V and then take whatever's left over through the crease until I get it as bright as I want it. Okay, I think we're gonna do one more layer and bring it up just a little bit higher. And then I'm also going to take Palm Trees on a flat eyeliner brush, and I'm just going to throw that along the entire lower lash line. Definitely doing a little bit more of a monochromatic look today. Okay, now let's go ahead and go into the shade Cocoa Beans. So I'm grabbing that on a pretty small little blending brush, and I'm just going to throw that right into my outer V to add some depth to this look. You could go in with the navy blue here, and that would be really beautiful as well, but I kind of wanted to keep it more green than going blue. So just lightly buffing that out, and then also taking a touch of Cocoa Beans onto the lower lash line, just about a third of the way in to connect to the outer V. Okay, so now for my lid, I'm gonna go into the shade Cane Fields. I've used this a little bit already, but I kind of wanted to give it its full moment all over the entire lid, and I think it's going to be really cute. So I just went ahead and picked that shade up on my finger, and we're just going to tap it onto the lid. Such a beautiful shade. Kind of just bringing it into the inner corner as much as I can, And then whatever's left over on the, I was about to say on the brush, on my finger, I'm just kind of tapping through the crease just so it's blended in and it's not a harsh line. I feel like no matter what I do with this palette, no matter how careful I am, I just always get fallout. Okay, so last but not least, I'm grabbing a pencil brush and just wiping it off so it's clean. And I want to go ahead and use the shade Rainforest on my inner corner. I just thought that would be a cool pop to this look. So we're just gonna pop it on right here and then just kind of bring it up and into the lower lash line as well. And then just kind of like slightly blending that together. I kind of want to go in with just a touch of the shade Blue Maho on the inner corner, just over top of that, to see if we can lighten it a little bit. Just kind of right on the center. I'm gonna use the We Makeup Malachite Green Liner and just throw that through my waterline. So a really beautiful deep green. And then lastly, I'm also going to throw on the Melt Cosmetics Supernatural Mascara. Okay, for blush today, I pulled out the Colourpop Cheek Dew Serum Blush in the shade Kiss Kiss, just because it's like a little bit more of a neutral shade, and I thought it would go along nice because we already have pretty bright eyes going on. I'm just going to go ahead and pick that up on my foundation brush and just throw that on. Kind of gives bronzer vibes because it's so neutral, but it's like a really pretty glow to it. And then for lips, I'm going to go into the Linda Hallberg lipstick in the shade Famous, which is like a soft kind of satiny brown neutral shade. So I know I still have shower hair going on, but this is the finished second look. I do like how it turned out. I feel like there's something about it. It's very simple, but at the same time, like bam, green. And I feel like, I don't know, there's something about the way that green eyeshadow looks with my green eyes that I kind of love. But let's go ahead and jump on into the last look and hopefully play with some neutrals now. Okay, I feel like it is time to do a full neutral look, just like a go-to look for me out of this palette, because we've been pretty colorful so far, so I feel like it is time to treat myself. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with this shade right here called Rum Raisin as my crease shade. So I'm just grabbing that on a Sigma E40 and I'm gonna put that through my entire crease as my transition shade. That looks a little funky, but it's just because I went in with such a tiny amount on such a big brush. I'm just gonna lightly blend it out. See, everything's all good. And just kind of wisp it. Starting off with just a pretty light layer. So I'm grabbing some more Rum Raisin on a brush that is slightly smaller, and I'm just starting that off in my outer V and then working it through my crease. Okay, I'm grabbing a pencil brush and also taking Rum Raisin once again. Just gonna blend that along the entire lower lash line. Most of the product is ending up on the outer half, but I'm kind of trying to keep it nice and soft. Okay, so I'm switching to a smaller blending brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Cocoa Beans. Just grabbing a little bit of that and popping it on my outer V. Honestly, it does not need to be much at all. I don't even think I'm gonna spend time really blending that. I'm just kind of adding it down and then going with my previous brush to blend it out, because I kind of want it to be a little bit more muted. I'm just gonna grab some more of Cocoa Beans and we're going to throw that along the lower lash line just a little bit. Honestly, I'm just tapping down the smallest amount, kind of what we did for the outer V, and then I'm just gonna take the brush that I used to throw the other brown along the lower lash line and blend that out. I'm also gonna take Cocoa Beans and just lightly line my upper lash line. Not going in very much. I'm trying to keep it pretty close to the lashes and I'm not going to go in all the way, but I just want to add a little extra definition. Okay, so now for the inner corner, we're gonna go into the shade Coconut, which is actually a pleasant surprise. When I swatched it initially, I thought that it was just a matte shade. It looked like a matte shade, but it has the slightest sheen to it, which is really mostly evident when you put it on the inner corner or on the brow bone where the light kind of hits it. That's when it's gonna really bring it out. It's super pretty. I tried it the other day off camera, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that as my inner corner highlight today, just so you guys can see. Really more on the subtle side, but it does have a pretty glow to it. So I'm just going to kind of pack that on. And then what I like to do is bring that shade kind of up a little bit. And also just going to go ahead and tap just a little bit underneath my brow bone right here. I feel like it's low-key like the perfect brow bone highlight. So now for the lid, I'm going to go into this cool toned, grungy, bronzy shade called Hellfire. No, Hellshire. What am I thinking about? All right, so I just picked up a little bit of that with my finger. You can see it's super, super pretty. So I'm going to pop that pretty much all over the lid, starting the pigmentation off on the outer V and then bringing it inwards. It's such a pretty metallic shade. Isn't that just so gorgeous? I'm gonna go back in with my previous outer V brush just because it's a really small one and blend through the crease. I kind of want to go in with a little bit more of coconut on the lid just to brighten things up a little bit. Let's just try it, and if we don't like it, we can cover over it. So just taking a little bit right here. It does kind of dull down the shine a little bit. To finish off this look, I'm going to go into the Appeal Gel Liner in the shade Deep Taupe. It's just a really beautiful brown shade. It's one of my favorites for any neutral look. And then I'm going to go into the Surratt mascara. It's the Releve mascara in the shade Noir. For blush, I'm going to go into the M Cosmetics Heaven's Glow blush in the shade Faded Clementine, which is a really beautiful, warm, glowy blush. I'm feeling with this look today, I feel like it just goes with the crease. Just going to grab a little bit of that. And that's such a pretty blush. I feel like blush is my new favorite thing. Every time I do my makeup, it's been my favorite part recently. Just completes a look so much. Okay, and then I pulled out a highlighter that I haven't used in a little bit. This is the Natasha Denona Super Glow highlighter in the shade Fair. It's just a really beautiful gold that looks so pretty on the skin. So I'm going to use the same brush. I'm just kind of mostly focusing on the top. And just going to put that over top for a little extra glow on my cheekbones and my nose. And then pretty much everywhere because I'm obsessed. I'm going to go into this About Face lip pencil that I have. It's in the shade Cradled. It's a really pretty neutral. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen it because it's a little bit short. And I'm just going to line my lips with that. Just going to go ahead and fill that in as well. And then over top of that, I'm going to go into the We Makeup Lip Gloss in the shade 05. Alright y'all, so this is the last look. I love how it turned out. It's definitely my favorite look. I feel so glam right now, and I'm really happy with the performance of the shadows. I feel like it was a very easy to achieve look, and it just looks so, so cute. So let's go ahead and talk about the palette. I do have some pros and some cons. I feel like one of the pros for me is that it is such a big palette. It's the biggest palette Sydney Grace has done yet. I feel like if you've been wanting to try their eyeshadows, this is a really good place to start because there are so many shades and textures. And I feel like if you are a color lover or a neutral lover, you can still find something in here. I will say that, you know, Tina kind of had this vision for this palette that it was like for people who want to like lean into color a little bit. You're not super comfortable with color, but I felt like majority of the looks that I ended up doing with this were very, very bright, and I feel like it is super easy to just go all out with this palette. But then as you can see, you can also tone it down and go completely neutral and get a full look out of it also. And I think it'd be fun to go in with the yellow and the orange and the shade Maroon right here for another neutral look that's a little bit warmer, and then you could do Grape Nut on the lid. But I only had so much time to get this video live, so we just did 3 looks together. But I could definitely see that being really pretty. Another pro for me is just that I feel like the matte formula is really, really good, super easy to blend, no issues whatsoever, and I love the shade Coconut. Like I said originally, I thought it was a matte, but it is not. It's such a pretty highlighting shade. It is very soft for the inner corner if you like something more intense, but I feel like it is the perfect under the brow bone highlight shade. Like I feel like it adds highlight there without being like shiny, so I think that's really nice. I'm not sure whether to count this as a con or just like a slight disappointment, but I do feel like a lot of the metallics in here are a little bit thicker and they're pressed a little bit harder than some other Sydney Grace shadows. Just as like a comparison, the Tiny Marvels palette is my favorite palette from Sydney Grace, and I feel like every metallic in there is super, super buttery, incredibly foiled, and some of these shadows I felt were just a little bit thicker. They didn't have quite as much shine and pizzazz to them. I did find that the two neutral shades were the most like the formula that I'm thinking of from Sydney Grace that I enjoy the absolute best, and I feel like you can see that on my lids today. It is just a super, super pretty foiled shadow, but some of the other shades I felt like they had a little bit less impact, and I also ended up getting a little bit frustrated just because I kept getting fallout from the shimmer shades, even like with a glitter primer, even spraying my brush, using my finger and tapping off the excess, I just kept getting fallout. So personally, when I reach for the shimmers in this palette in the future, other than the neutrals, I will probably be doing my face afterwards and doing my eyeshadow first. Yeah, I mean, I love the colors that were chosen. I feel like it's such a fun palette, but that would be my only critique is I wish that the metallic formula was just a little bit more similar to Tiny Marvels. And part of me is wondering if that's just because they do neutrals so well that the neutral shadows are a little bit more buttery. I'm not sure, but that is pretty much everything for today's video. I really hope it was helpful for you. I'd love to know if you guys decided to pick this palette up or if you passed on it. Like I said, I'm going to try and have this video live before it launches, so I'll have the time down below and everything, but that's all. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.